Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Death by Disney podcast. I'm your host, Adam, and today I am reviewing probably one of the best movies I've seen during this project. I am trying to watch all Disney movies that have ever been made, and today we're going to talk about 1955's Lady and the Tramp. And I gave it a 10 out of 10. And I'll explain my reasons in a moment. But if you don't know, basically, Lady and the Tramp is the story of a street dog and a very pampered dog that fall in love and get together, and everything is happy in the end. Um, there are some amazing things about this movie that I'll talk about right now. So here's my review. Lady and the Tramp is one of the most successful Disney films, both commercially and artistically. It made almost as much money as Snow White, so therefore it's a commercial success. But whereas that film today feels really dated and is only important as a historical artifact, Lady and the Tramp continues to succeed as a piece of art. The great thing about it is that it's completely different from the perspective, oh, that it's completely told, sorry, from the perspective of a rather spoiled dog. Lady is an unreliable narrator. We see the story and the events of the story, but there's no guarantee that what we see is what actually happened. She doesn't even know her owners' real names. She just refers to them as Jim Dear and Darling. Uh, we barely see the faces of any of the human characters. Another thing that struck me is that the story obviously takes place about 30 to 40 years before the film was released in the 1950s. We see old fashioned cars, telephones, and a rather dated domestic life, both for the richer residents of the city and the poorer residents of the city. But the era in which the film occurs is never mentioned. And I think that's a departure from more modern films where even if it's obviously the city of London or Paris, we need a subtitle telling us where and when we are. Even the worst part about this film kind of makes sense in terms of storytelling. The film is full of racist stereotypes, not only about Asians, although that is the most glaring example, but about the Scots, Southerners, Italians, and many more. But a dog like Lady would be incredibly racist, and she would think in those terms. I think a more modern version of the story would maybe do a better job of depicting her as more of a racist against cats rather than a human racist, but it does make sense for her character. I also liked the fact that it is clear that the two main characters have an attraction towards each other, and it's a couple that makes sense, uh, which is a really strange thing to say about a pair of dogs, but the romance makes sense. One odd thing is that Tramp is a homeless dog and he can read signs written in English. A lot of older Disney movies do not bear rewatching, but this one definitely holds up. Yeah, so this is like one of those classic Disney films that built the brand. And as I said, this movie was released when Disney was thinking about its future, like if they want to produce television or continue to produce animation, and they had lost a lot of money. So the fact that it made as much money, almost as much money as Snow White, kind of saved the whole company. And the fact that it also is an artistic uh, success helped as well. Okay, so usually I give you some trivia and some people's negative or positive reviews just to provide a more balanced opinion about the film. So the trivia is actually kind of sad. There was a guy, I forgot what his name was, but he worked for Disney and he drew a picture of his dog, which uh, Lady looks exactly like. this dog looked exactly like the dog, and he brought it to Disney, and Disney was like, "Oh, very, very good. Make a storyboard." And so the guy made a storyboard, and Disney was like, "Ah, I don't like it." And then maybe 10 years later, he's reading a story in the newspaper. Disney is, and he's like, "Oh, I'll make this story." So they started to make Lady and the Tramp based on the story in the newspaper, and they used the character design for Lady that this guy had drawn like 10 years before. And they didn't credit the guy or give him any reward for this until like 40, 50 years later, which is a thing that happens a lot with this company, unfortunately. Um, yeah, and the story of that story is kind of funny as well because, Disney had been producing stories that were kind of famous, like they were folk tales like Cinderella or Snow White, and people knew about the stories, but Disney wasn't sure that people would be, rushed to see this original story. So he got a novelist to write the story of Lady and the Tramp and to release the book before the movie came out so people could be aware of what the story of the Lady and the Tramp was about. I'm not sure how successful it was, but very interesting marketing strategy because uh, I don't know if they do this now, but it used to be that there would be like the movie and a novel based on the movie. So if you like, I don't mean where the movie is based on a book. I mean that they would do a novelization of the movie. So um, I think Star Wars had something like that, and then they created more unique novels like that were not novelizations of the story that continued the story. Star Wars, Star Trek, lots of things like that. All right, but now I'm going to read a negative review and react to it. And again, remember, I gave this film 10 out of 10. So, 2 out of 10. Classic romance. Lady and the Tramp is a classic romance between two dogs from opposite ends of society. Unfortunately, there's not much more to it. It's a simple and predictable story. The characters can sometimes save such projects from becoming an absolute bore, but only one of the two works. Tramp is a cool guy who understands the meaning of life as being free and having a good time. He always finds a miraculous way to get out of trouble, though his 3 against 1 fighting scene was a bit too much. Lady, on the other hand, is extremely annoying. The first scene is enough to show what a spoiled little dog she is, making it hard to care or root for her. And that's Kokikino Citrino from March 2024. Two things about that. First thing, as I said, this is all from Lady's perspective. It's a story told from the perspective of a dog. And it's the story told from the perspective of a dog who really loves another dog. So we don't know if Tramp was fighting 3 big, mean dogs. He could have been fighting 3 very small, not intimidating dogs, or 3 cats, or half a cat, or a bagel, or something. We just don't know. Because this is all, it's ladies' opinions and perspectives of what happened. And I didn't realize this because I had that review in the episode that I redid. Actually, I didn't tell you that. So I did this episode before, but there were some audio problems, so I have to redo it. But that last line, that she is spoiled from the first moment, it's a very amazing scene that I remembered now, where they get Lady as a present and they're putting Lady to sleep. And they're putting Lady, who is a puppy, by the way, like she's like 3 months old or something. They're putting her to sleep in this little basket down these big stairs, and Lady is scared because she's a puppy. So she goes up to the stairs and she like makes noises on the door, and Jim Deere like goes and puts her back, and this happens like a couple of times, and eventually they get Lady inside their room to sleep with. And I don't know why you think that that a dog that doesn't want to be separated with you has some kind of anxiety. Because, like, why you no, I mean, I, the dog does have anxiety. I'm not sure why you think that's being spoiled. Like, just imagine for a minute, like, you took a, I know dogs mature much faster than people, but imagine you took like a 6 month old baby and put them in a room, or a 3 month old baby and put them in a room very far away, and you're like, oh, you I mean, that's a whole debate too, whether you should let them sleep or not. But like, you definitely wouldn't leave them in a room that's very far away from you. You'd leave them in the same room, or you'd be close by, right, in case anything happened. So just because it's a dog, I think is really ridiculous, and that is a very and again, it's all from Lady's perspective. So from her perspective, she's terrified. She's anxious. She doesn't know what's going on. And I think that that scene was probably one of the more realistic things in the entire film. So yeah, I obviously loved this film. I think when I do about 100 episodes, I will go back and revisit which movies I really liked and why, and which movies I really hated and why. But yeah, if you like Lady and the Tramp, leave a comment. If you hate Lady and the Tramp, leave a comment. I think people just remember it for the pasta scene, which I mean is iconic, but the whole movie is great. The way the story is told is great. So if you loved it, let me know in the comments. If you disliked it, let me know in the comments. Like, what is your favorite Disney film that I should watch next? What is a Disney film that you hated? Let me know in the comments. So please like and subscribe, and thank you. Bye bye.